the reason why I'm saying that you got to do this foundational part of the process first is you want to have a really good idea of what you're looking for, where you're looking for it, and making sure that it actually exists.
Nail on the head, which is like segues straight into what my train of thought was about, is not having set preconditions or expectations when it comes to buy your first property. A lot of people do listen to YouTube videos, podcasts, read books, and
Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, YouTube Reels,
and see that somebody has achieved X result in property in Y amount of time. And the same thing in my business is people will see the case studies of somebody has, made X amount of thousands of dollars in 3 months or 3 weeks or whatever it is. And it's not, you're seeing the tip of the iceberg, and then people come to you with those expectations of like what a unicorn property would look like if they're coming to you, Sam, or another buyer's agent. They're going to come and say, this is what I want, and you may be in the market for 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years and never find it, right? When I bought my first property, I just went to the professional and said, this is what I've got in terms of borrowing capacity. This is what I want to buy it in based on what I know. Teach me differently if you think there's a better strategy for me. I'm open to it, but also say just what should I buy because I want capital growth, and this is what my longer term 10-year goal is. And they went away, and I was completely unattached to the result. I didn't have an expectation of I need to achieve this amount of capital growth or percentage of capital growth. I didn't have an expectation of it needs to be this amount of money in passive income or negative yield. Not negative yield, but like not negative the gearing. I was completely open. If the strategy was going to help me as a primary property get to my 10-year goal, I don't care what it is, as long as it's going to help me do that. And it will. I'm big on you guys not setting the bar like at a crazy high level that you'll never get to it, because what happens is we set a goal that's so high, when we get to that goal, when we try and get to that goal and we've set like a time limit for it, or even if there's sometimes no time limit, if we don't get to that goal, what happens to us unconsciously is we mentally realize, I'm not good enough. And we lose confidence in ourselves. Like, I'm not good enough to achieve that goal.
Oh, it doesn't exist. And you go on to something else.
Yeah, and that will kill you in the long run of, your mental mindset and your mental strength to get through some of the hard things of like, oh no, I can get through finance with this one, and I'll fill out pavers and do all this sort of stuff. Like, you need to give yourself a break, and you need to set yourself up for success rather than set the bar too high and set yourself for failure, I think.
Yeah, and when I go even deeper, the reason why I say there's no perfect property is because I've been doing this for a number of years now, and there is never a perfect property that I've purchased, but there can be the perfect portfolio. Like it's kind of like if you look at your superannuation, you're not just invested in BHP. You're invested in a mix of assets. That's why there's the rise of the ETF. So diversification is key.
Yes.
And this first purchase is, well, you've got this borrowing capacity, you've got this cash, let's make this work for you as much as we possibly can. Capital growth is key for myself, but also you need that income to continue to grow that portfolio if that's your strategy, or you're doing a multi-pronged approach. Because the next one might be, if the opportunity arises, and this is the thing when you're buying established properties, things just come into your, like as a buyer's agent, it comes into your system and you're like, oh, that's a ripper deal. It's a great location, good growth, and this cash flow is amazing. And then you present it to a client and they're all for it. They jump on, they buy it. That's a really strong cash flow asset in a growth location, but it may be in more of a major regional town. So number 2 purchase in 12 months' time may look like, all right, well, we've got this high-performing cash flow asset in a regional town. Let's go for a residential in a CBD type location. And then the number 3 might be all right, well, we've got cash flow, we've got capital growth. You understand the process. What's your risk appetite? What's your knowledge around commercial property? Let's go down that path, because that's going to give you a lot more cash flow from that point of view.
Absolutely.
And then you're evolving to as an investor. So a lot of the investors that start out are Yeah, you got to start somewhere.
Yeah, you got to start somewhere, and residential is a great place to start. Buy a few of those, learn the ropes of how to buy a property, how to get finance before you learn the ropes of. I mean, the economy of business moves a lot faster and in very many different ways based off one economy of residential property, which is homeowners, which drives the market mostly.